From the Ben Pixel Studios in Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Phone Booth Fighting, your free weekly podcast covering the world of mixed martial arts and so far beyond, with that guy, the two-time UFC heavyweight champion of the world, Frank Mir.
Oh, and this guy, my Jiminy Cricket at all times, two-time funniest man of Reno, Naga silver medalist, retired MMA fighter, retired before I did, but, a little age there, I understand. And currently my sidekick here on Phone Booth Fighting.
I was seeing the boys from MMA Junkie this morning, and they told me that John Morgan, apparently, who was doing the color commentary on my last fight, spoke highly of the fact that I got up.
Yes.
After I was like, well, I guess that's a moral victory.
No, I told you. Look, everybody thinks they can till they can't. And then I was just talking to Ed today about this. We're training Ed Nosson, right? We were talking about one of the guillotine escapes that I do. I immediately go back on the attack because I like to punish you for immediately going for a move on me.
Right.
Because eventually I just train you that everything you do to me is going to hurt you. And guys, the expression I used is one of the things you do in fighting is you help them look for the door, which means that I want to put so much pressure on you mentally, physically, and really mentally, that you're looking to go ahead and give me an arm. You're looking to go ahead and take a shot and cover up and let the referee stop the fight. And the fact that you got dropped, you got hit with a concussive shot by a guy who can punch hard, that you could tell, I could tell when guys even question themselves, do I want to? And then they're like, everybody's screaming, okay, I will. I'm very proud of you that you never once even had the thought go through your mind of, oh, fuck this, I'm done. Well, what the fuck am I doing?
I appreciate that, especially the fact that you were screaming at me, stay down, at that point was,
I wasn't screaming. I was just giving you if you could see on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I'll warm up the car if we need to get out of here quick. Now, we need to introduce our special guest in studio. Frank, he's more than a special guest. He's actually become a friend and now a coworker for me. This is John Shaw.
How you doing?
Now, John works with me at Zach Bagan's Haunted Museum. He does the heavy lifting, literally, at the museum. You've seen his
Yes, I have. I'm very impressed with John. Yeah.
I do the talking, and he does the freak show. He does some talking, too, but he does the freak show.
No, he's a very good orator. He was able to captivate. I'm sure there's other people out there in the world that can put themselves through pain, but being able to captivate an audience and be also, good, be able to out there and speak and make us be invested in you. That was the part I thought that he really excelled at.
Yeah, well, John's got about 3 minutes to gross everybody out, and that's what
it's
he
a
does.
very short time period.
Yeah, they're in the Sideshow, because there is a part of the Haunted Museum here in Las Vegas where you enter what is basically like an old-time throwback freak show, the kind of sideshow they used to have at the circuses, and he does a couple of stunts for people. Now, Frank, before we let John describe what he does, let's get the layman's version. How would you describe what he does? Because you've seen it. You've been an audience member. What do you remember?
I was blown away. He went out there and first he grabs a drill. I don't remember which order things were because I've seen it twice. I came through. And when he grabs the drill, you're like, all right, I can imagine he's going to maybe put it in his nostril or something. The guy puts it palm down towards him, so it's going straight through. And then you look at this thing, and how many inches?
6 inches.
6 fucking inches of drill disappears into his sinuses and comes back. And even if, and I know there's probably a technical way to do that to where it causes less damage, but the pain tolerance and the ability to do that, I'm like, this guy's not doing this once. Like a fighter, we warm up, get ready. All right, do that again in 3 months. I'm like, man, this guy's doing this multiple times in an hour.
Like 20, 30 times a day.
Yeah, and so I sat there. I was like, also, too, I guess the part that impressed me was the mental discipline to do something. It's almost like how many people get into fender benders all the time? Because when you're driving's dangerous. One of the leading ways that you could probably leave this earth very quickly is vehicular accident. And people lose that respect of it all the time. And you're on your phone, you're texting, you're talking to someone, you're looking over, they're showing you something on your phone. Accidents happen because you get too comfortable. So the fact that he can repeatedly do things that are dangerous multiple times and keep mentally disciplined enough not to make that mistake, that's the part that I really I honed in on. I was like, wow, this guy, he doesn't have to do this once, but multiple times without screwing up and not being too comfortable.
That's a good point, John, because if I flub a word here or there, we'll be all right. If
everyone just chuckles and we move on.
if you're off center an inch, then
it hurts and it bleeds.
To the hospital,
and it does happen every once in a blue moon. there are mistakes. I've especially because I do the paint can hang, so I put they're deep sea fishing hooks, and I stick them into my eye sockets, and then the audience member fills it with water. I think I had you do it.
Yeah,
I think
that one made me like the saw. The drill is definitely like holy shit, but it's not. I guess it didn't make me look away because you're like, oh my God, it's just like, oh shit. More the expression I think most people could relate to. When he has his tin can and he drops it and is swinging, I didn't even see the initial reaction of it snapping down because I closed my eyes. My initial reaction, oh shit, you close your eye and you look away for a second because, it's like you're about to watch someone get hit by a car wreck. Most people, I think, kind of turn away for a second. And that's what I did. I was just, that one was like, oh my God, I don't care what technique he's doing. That's a sensitive part of your body.
Yeah.
That has to hurt.
It's a metal paint can, and then he has somebody fill it with, what is that, 12 ounce? How many,
yeah,
it's like
a beer mug full of water.
A beer mug full of
16
water.
ounces.
It's a solid 16.
Yeah.
That's half a gallon.
Now, if you want to see what we're talking about, John's brought a couple of things in studio to show. Now, this is a great time to subscribe to our Phone Booth Fighting YouTube channel if you're not already on it, because if you're just listening to the audio, you're going to enjoy the show, but you're not going to see you're not going to get the visual effect that you're going to get on YouTube. So go over there and subscribe to our channel so you can see what he's doing. But before we get into it, we'll build up to that.
Okay.
Tell everybody, John, I guess maybe kind of first of all, how you got
started in this.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the joke I always tell people like, why do you, how do you do this? I'm like, crack cocaine and meth. Yeah. And I'm like, that's a joke. Obviously, I would never do crack. But so it's like that's a good. But how I got into it, the real story is when I was about 10 years old. My father was a cop. And they were a circus. Clyde Beatty Colbert, the circus, came to. I grew up in New York, so they came to New York. It was a tent show, and they had a sideshow. My father came home because they hired them as security. My father came home and said, "You got to go see this. This is crazy." So we went that weekend, and we went to the sideshow. And because they all knew he was the cop, of course, I got picked for everything because I was the kid. And I got up on stage with the sword swallower, and the guy got down on his knees and said, "Pull the sword out." And I looked down this guy's mouth into his throat, and I pulled the sword out, and I remember to this day feeling his teeth scraping across that blade and the saliva and everything, and it made this little sound as it came out, and he's like, "Now hold it up in the air," and I went like this, and everyone went, "Yeah," and I'm like, well, I don't know what this is, but I want more of that.
This is the same way Mikey got into porn, actually. I've heard that same story.
It's very similar. It's very
saliva,
It's very similar. And then I got to, I saw the Snake Girl in the blade box where, the girl gets in and they put the blades in and one gets stuck and they pull out her costume and then like, now for $1 you can come up and see how it's done. And of course she's just in a different costume, but everyone thinks she's naked. But it was that kind of thing, and there was fire eaters and all that stuff, and I was just amazed. And I already did magic at that point because I started doing magic at 8. I was about 10, and as soon as I saw this, I was like, fuck yeah. There's because it was real. It wasn't in my mind. There's no trick. It's like these people are physically doing this.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to remember. I remember seeing sideshows at the state fair in Texas when I was a kid. So they didn't, I don't think I saw them past my teens because they largely went away at some point. But and we're close to the same age. So I'm thinking we were probably just right on the tail end of being able to see a little. Now there's revival versions.
Yeah, but it's
of
not.
But,
it's definitely not the same. You still had shows. Ward Hall, who just passed a little while back, he was the last of the old time guys who were doing this. Like the pinhead that we have in the museum is modeled after a real person named Schlitzie.
Yes, who was in Freaks.
Who was in the movie Freaks, the Todd Browning.
You ever seen the old movie Freaks, Frank? You should see this.
Black and white.
Yeah, I did.
It's all natural born people who are in the movie.
And then in the end, like, don't they like go after? Like,
yes, they go after one of the girls. Yeah. So the
normal girl that was
the little guy that's in it. They like Italian looking little.
Sorry,
guy.
real quick. What was the guy's name? Sorry, when people say that, I want to go back.
Schlitzie, which was a man, but they billed him as a woman because he wore like a muumuu.
Yeah, here you go, Frank. Mike, you'll pull it up so everybody can see. Go ahead.
So he wore a muumuu because he was incontinent, so it was easy. He wore a diaper and stuff. It was easier to keep him clean by dressing him in this giant dress.
Again, same thing we do with Mike.
So it was like one of those things, but then because of the way he looked, you couldn't tell male or female. It was really kind of like.
Yeah. Okay, here's the cast of freaks up here. He's the one in the dress right there in the center, right? That there.
That's
Yep.
Schlitzie, yes.
Yeah, because I was watching the American Horror Show. I think
Yes.
it was the third or fourth season they did.
And this is Johnny Eck, who is one of a real super famous half man.
Yep.
And this guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but you've all seen him in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Master Blaster, that's the little old man.
Right.
That's him as a young man.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Which is
Now,
really cool.
When somebody is
I can see the face. Yeah.
Yeah, you
when-
can see it.
Yeah.
when somebody like Johnny Eck is a half person, is he literally just born in half?
Yes, so he was a twin, an identical twin. His identical twin was full-bodied.
Huh.
And he was half-bodied.
Not conjoined though.
Not conjoined. No, they were twins, but one was born with no lower half of his body.
Yeah.
So no legs whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just like a living torso. And then his brother was born just like average person.
Interesting.
Yeah, but identical twins.
Yeah. Huh.
Now,
okay.
there's different types of half people, and I've worked with a lot of half people.
I'm
This
sure,
kid-
like what some have hips, some probably don't. Like
There's this kid Bobby in Ohio, and he was he was a football player. You might have seen him on his YouTube and stuff. He won like an ESPY or something like that for like college football. He runs on his hands like almost as fast as somebody can.
Jeez.
And I've worked with him in a show. He's 167 pounds, and he's half a guy.
So yeah, that's a big, strong.
I have a
guy.
video
Yeah.
of him on my phone with a girl on his shoulders and him walking down a hotel hallway with
Gotta
her.
imagine
on
the
his
guy's upper body
Oh,
strength
it's
is
insane.
unreal.
He climbed me like I was a jungle gym.
Huh.
We've seen that in wrestling now, where guys
Yeah.
have done well.
Yeah.
There was a kid that I just seen that is a half body, and the one, obviously the most famous is Robles, who went to Arizona, and I think, what was it, 2012 maybe, national champ. But that was one of the. It was funny. How do you argue that it's an advantage? Because that'd be a taboo thing to say.
Yeah.
Oh, you have an unfair advantage. Like, dude, he has one leg.
Yeah.
But after meeting him, I was like, wow, yeah, you actually have one less leg to weigh in.
Yep.
So your upper body and his strength, and
Yep.
obviously that's not just, that advantage alone is going to make you a national champion.
Yeah.
But talk about, okay, I don't have the ability of mobility, but I'm going to have greater strength to weight ratio.
Yeah.
You know, so turning things around and always looking for, like, the advantages.
Yeah. So half people, their shoulders are very developed.
I can imagine. Yeah.
We have a girl that works at the museum. She's considered a half person, but she actually has legs, but they're small and they kind of come up and fold underneath her. So she has them, but they're completely
Right.
non-functional. But she walks on her hands every day. Her shoulders look like little football helmets.
Yeah, I mean-
and she's
Yeah, you're
she
doing
is very tiny.
hand walking multiple times a day.
Yeah,
I mean,
all day. That's what she does.
Pound
to
for
do
pound.
everything.
I can't imagine
Yeah.
the strength.
So
Yeah.
this is another one of John's specialties. Is you like the freak show wrangler?
Yes,
Like
that's
you,
a good way to say it.
Yeah, yeah. Now, how did you? Is this the guy?
This is the wrestler, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zion Clark.
Let's see here. Yeah, blow that up. Let me see it. And he has, would you say, one leg, Frank?
Zion has neither.
Oh no,
yeah,
I
he's
see
not.
that. Wow.
So the friend of mine, Bobby, he's kind of more like him. He
Okay.
has like that, like a little bit of a stump underneath his body.
Yeah.
But my friend, he got 5 kids too.
Huh.
Also, he has obviously.
Oh yeah, everything's there. It's just different.
Yeah. Wow.
Look how strong
big
that
he
dude
is.
is.
Look
Yeah.
how big and strong he is. My friend Bobby's got a little skateboard. He gets around town, man. He just zips around like nobody's
And kind of
business,
like
man.
what you're saying, Frank, like with weigh-ins, I mean, that's kind of like you could find yourself like a lightweight wrestling a heavyweight torso.
Yeah.
Because,
Well, like your friend, right?
Or
If he
upper
weighs
body.
170
Yeah.
pounds with no legs,
yeah.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that's a 280-pound dude.
Yeah.
So now you have a 280-pound guy who only has to move 160 pounds around.
Yeah.
You know, imagine if I took your legs off to go do pull-ups. Even if you never got 1 ounce stronger, you immediately would be that much stronger.
Yeah.
And then you talk about the fact you're always using your hands to move your body around. Your time under tension. You're always constantly pressing. Strength is
Oh, his
incredible.
hands when he would grab you, like, because he's like, I'd stand next to we go out to the bar or whatever. I'd stand next to a chair. He'd grab me, grab the chair, and you could just feel the strength in his arm. Like, he'd grab your leg or and just climb you like it was nothing. Like it was nothing. It was unbelievable.
Now, what was your introduction into the? Because if the world of the sideshow and the natural borns and all that kind of stuff is anything like my porn star wrangling, it's that you got to get one to vouch for you. That's kind of the let them know you're not shady and you're not going to steal from them or whatever. And then once word gets around, hey, this one's okay, then the others are easier to come by. So what do you remember about your introduction into the proper world of that sort of thing?
Well, it was kind of weird because it wasn't like that's what I was going out for.
Yeah.
It was like I met one, worked with somebody on the road, and then all of a sudden it came up one time like, hey, I need a little person for this. And I'm like, well, this girl I'm dating, her father's a little person. Mm-hmm. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, he was in Howard the Duck and Gorillas in the Mist. And they're like, what? How much does he want an hour? I'm like, okay. So I got off the phone. I'm like, hey, how much do you want to, and we worked it out. And that was like my first time doing it. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just trying to help my friend out. And I'm like, I don't know, I can get him $150 an hour. And all they wanted to do was hang out with him. But I told them I have to be with him because the problem with people when they rent little people out for parties and stuff is they think they're kids or props and they pick them up. They're very fragile. A lot of them are very fragile. And then a short fall, no pun intended, but like a 3 or 4 foot fall could kill him.
Right.
Could literally kill him. And one of his friends, he told me a story. Somebody put him on his shoulders. They were jumping around, slip, fall, boom, dead.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff. So that was going through my head. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go with you. You have all the fun. I'll just stay back and kind of make sure nothing. And I took care of the money.
You know what John's talking about here? This is how I knew that I had been accepted at the museum. One of our little people, Crystal, needed to stretch her back out. And she chose me to pick her up by her ankles and hold her up in the air so she could stretch her back. And I thought, well, she must think I'm a
she does that. She
We
tries.
could use an expression, and is that the proper term? Well, 2 questions I guess I have immediately right now. Little person obviously is the proper terminology, and then second, are the people in your industry as sensitive with terminology? Sometimes you deal with other people in different factions. Like I have to be, spoken to, or these are the terms I want to be spoken.
The pronouns.
Of. And how dare you not use? And sometimes, I have a hard time remembering. I'm like, okay, she, he, you.
In the sideshow world, a lot of them have very thick skin, and so it depends on who's saying it and how you're saying it.
Right. So, which is
I'm
realistic.
Jewish. So if my friends make a
Jewish
joke to me, I don't care. It's funny.
Okay.
But if it was somebody I didn't know and they called me a kike, now we got a problem.
Yeah, the's maliciousness behind
Exactly.
Yeah.
But with little people and stuff, some little people only want to be called little people. And they will generally tell you that. Some people, like Crystal, our friend Crystal, she's like, call me a fucking midget. I don't care. So she's cool with that. So that's the kind of person that she is. Some people are fine with it. Some people aren't. But you figure that out fairly quickly.
So obviously, midget is a no-no typically.
Yeah, but some people. There's a difference between midgets and dwarves.
See, that's what I said. See, those are the 2 expressions I would have used.
Yes.
If I saw someone walk by and they say, "Hey, that person's very small. What do you think?" I'm like, "Oh, they're probably a dwarf." I thought that was the actual.
Yeah, dwarfism is the blanket term.
Okay.
A midget is a perfectly proportioned little person.
Okay.
So they look basically like they grew up at a certain age and then stopped.
4'8" or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So
but dwarf. I've seen them. They have they're humorous and their femurs are short.
Yes, and you'll see usually they have like a bow leg and then
but their torso and head.
The head are like an average person, but then the rest of them is down. So that would be more like what a dwarf would be.
Right, and then there's different subdivisions.
And there's different variations there. Some are taller, some are smaller, some are all different types.
It's such an interesting environment, the Haunted Museum, because you do have the various performers like that in the workplace. And there are things like in the break room, there's a smaller table. There's smaller tables, smaller chairs.
With smaller chairs,
yeah. And
if you had somebody who was in a wheelchair, you'd probably have a ramp.
Totally.
So I mean, it makes sense to make things accessible towards the individuals you're dealing with.
Yeah, there's smaller.
I initially wouldn't think of that.
Yeah, there's smaller tunnels in the house that they can navigate.
Yeah, so they can skip around the house quicker.
And then sometimes when you have to go through those tunnels as a full-size person, watch your step. There could be a little person splayed out somewhere, relaxing in between shifts. And the other funny thing to me is how
that was actually the biggest scare I've ever gotten at the Haunted Museum.
What's that?
one of the little people just
Yeah.
when we went into the clown room. There's a
Yeah.
tunnel there.
Yeah.
And they were waiting for people to pass, and I got stood there for a second. And I don't think their intentions were to scare me, but you know what I mean. Like like you just sit there, and someone, oh shit, I didn't see you there, and that was one of those, oh fuck.
Yep. And then the other funny thing too is how it's just so casual in conversation. Like there was some conversation the other day about a possible like how a new exhibit could work. And I heard somebody just so casually say, oh, yeah, totally. And then all we'd have to do is put a half person in there. And then we'd have it, you know, like that was the easiest part of the formula. And I was like, who thinks that way? Like, well, yeah. And then just, you know, I mean, of course.
And that's
just plug in a half
great.
person.
One of the great things I love about the Sideshow is it mixes lots of people from that are just different looking and have just different things about them. For me, it's a new learning experience every day because I learn more and more, and I talk and I ask questions and stuff. And it's always respectful. You don't want to ever do it like, hey, what's it like to pee? You know, that stupid stuff like that. But you know, I have a friend of mine. He's a penguin boy. So he's a little person, and he has no arms. He just has little hands that stick out of his shoulders. And I lived with him on a tour bus for 3 months. We traveled around the country in a show together, and we were going down the road 67 miles an hour, and he would climb up the bunk bed and jump up, and we'd hang out. And he had no arms. And but he found a way to do it. He finds a way because he's never had arms, so he doesn't know. And people are like, oh my God, that's so horrible. I'm like, it's not horrible to them. They don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a dog with 3 legs. A dog with 3 legs just finds a way to make it work. You know, my friends who are different, were born different, they find ways to make it work. They just because it's the only way that it is.
Humans are great at adapting, right?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So you don't have any of that stuff going on, but you decided you were going to be a sideshow performer. So now, what is your first like actual gig in the sideshow?
The first thing I ever learned how to do was eating fire.
Yeah.
Which is what they tell you not to learn first. But back when I got into it, no internet. It was like you had to go find somebody to teach you. Back in my day, we didn't even have dirt. But you know, I saw somebody eat fire, and I was like, fuck, I really want to know how to do that. So then I would ask like some older magicians. I'm like, hey man, how do you do this? And they're like, well, I don't really know. I heard this, and I'm like, okay. So my first fire eating trick, this is how I figured it out. I was like, I think 12 or 13 maybe at the time. I went home, and I had this torch that I used for a magic trick where I would have a torch and it would turn into a cane. You know, that was the trick. But it was made out of aluminum and had cotton inside of it. And I'm like, all right, well, how do I protect myself? As a 12-year-old, my way was I'll coat inside of my mouth with Vaseline. That'll protect me. I had no idea what petroleum meant at that time. I didn't know what a petroleum. I was like, oh, this just makes complete sense.
Actually, it's good for camping. You're dipping things in petroleum for your fire starting
this
stuff.
This isn't going to work out well.
So I just got a thing of Vaseline, gooped it out, rubbed it all over the inside of my mouth, which was god-awful tasting, by the way. And then I took this metal torch, lit it on fire, and then just put my head back, took a deep breath in, and went, and every time it would hit my skin, it would sizzle, and I'm like, and I took it out, and I'm like, ta-da, and I was like, okay. So then I cleaned my mouth out. My mom came home, and I'm like, hey, look what I could do. And she was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Was your mom yelling at your dad like, I told you you shouldn't have taken him?
Yeah, so she was like, you can't do this, can't do this. She's like, you got to find somebody to show you how to do that the right way. And I'm like, well, I don't know anybody. And so I met an older magician.
By the way, credit to your mom.
Yes.
Because my mom would have had
she handled that way better than I would have.
My mom would have
That was just not really the approach I was expecting.
No. My mom would have had the same freak out at first without the follow-up of, but we need to get you a tutor.
Right.
Well, I think she realized, because I'm the kind of person, I'm an all-in kind of guy. Like, if I'm going to do it, I'm just.
So she knew it was going to happen.
It was going to happen. In the right direction. She knew. Like, I talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
And so I asked this guy who used to buy magic from out of his basement of his house, which I know sounds
shady.
creepy, right? But back in the day, hey, what are you going to do?
Hey, John.
So
I got some new magic tricks down in the basement.
The disappearing. No.
Vanishing banana. So I asked him about it, and he's like, well, I heard if you take cotton balls, wrap it around the end of a coat hanger, and then put the lighter fluid on it. It acts as a wick. You take a deep breath in. As you put it in, you breathe out. I'm like, all right. So I went home, and man, did that work a whole lot better.
Yeah.
But the torches were so tiny. And many years later, I was about 18, and I was at a magic convention in Stamford, Connecticut. I remember it. And I met this girl, and she was a fire eater. And she was about 30-ish at the time, and she was super hot. And I was just like, hey. And she made me fire eating torches and all kinds of stuff. So it was a good magic convention.
Boy, most young men, when they meet the older woman to show them the ways of the world, they're not thinking about learning fire eating.
Nope.
You
Yeah,
know?
we sat up for
Yeah.
hours and hours in the hotel, and she showed me how to make the torches and explained all the different stuff. And to this day, I have a variation of that design that I still use. I never saw her ever again after that. But it was But now the torches I use are huge and produce a flame that's like 2 feet. So now when
What is the greatest risk of injury? I would assume inhalation.
Yeah, if you breathe it in, the fire will go into your lungs. It'll burn you out. It'll kill you.
Yeah,
If you breathe in, you're done.
Oh boy,
it's bad.
All right, now
about to sneeze. It's like no.
Yeah. Now John's brought some tools with him here.
Yeah.
And we've got a nice little studio audience. We got Austin Aries, pro wrestler extraordinaire. Porno Mikey's here. Our buddy Big Ed's over here in the corner. We got John's girlfriend here. So we got a nice little. Of course, you guys at home watching on our Phone Booth Fighting YouTube channel. Now, what have you brought with you here?
So I brought a couple of things. I do a stunt with forks and a taser.
Okay.
So this is real. This is a real taser. It's not
Yeah.
a trick.
Yeah.
This is
Tase Frank real quick. Let me make sure it works.
Yeah.
Me and John have already had this explanation.
Yeah.
We've had this talk. I became a great fighter because I have an aversion to pain, not because I have a good tolerance.
Well, it's funny when I first started doing this trick, this stunt. Zach Bagans was like, "That's not real." He's like, "Hit me with the taser." I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Why? Because it's not going to work." I'm like, "No, because it is going to work." And you're like a TV guy, and I'm not going to be the guy that knocks you out.
Yeah.
Because then I'm probably going to not have this job anymore.
Yeah.
Although,
That's probably not a good way to start off employment.
yeah, it's like
Put 200,000 volts.
I
in
know
it.
you don't believe it, but I'm telling you, I literally went to one of the gun shops and I bought this. For
Although I got to say, this doesn't apply to Zach, but I've worked for some guys where if they said tase me, I'd be like, you don't have to ask me twice.
They wouldn't finish the sentence.
I actually really like Zach. Zach's a good guy.
Yeah.
So this is a saber.
Did you end up zapping Zach, or did he?
No. I told him no. I was like, no, there's no way I'm going to do that. Because I was like, it's gonna hurt you, and he's like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not lying.
So you're better than I would have at least handed it to him and said, all right, buddy, go ahead, knock yourself out.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm not.
Literally.
I'm not gonna be responsible for it because we have video cameras everywhere. Everyone's gonna see that. I'm like, screwed.
Yeah.
So we have 3 forks, and I'll let you pick, Frank. You get to pick a fork, any fork.
Yeah, go for the middle.
That one. All right, cool. So we're gonna take this fork.
By the way, are we good on the camera shot?
Yeah.
You think
Oh,
I
okay.
can see it.
So
good?
is it a head-on shot?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So I'll turn a little bit to the side so everyone can
Okay.
see. So I'm going to take the fork. It's going to go into the nose.
No.
Then it's going to go all the way into the center of the skull. Once it's in there, I'm going to take the taser, which is a Saber 200,000 volt saber,
Shut the fuck up.
and then I'm going to taser the end of the fork, passing the electricity into my head. And I do this for all of you. You're welcome. So we got to lube it up first, just like in real life. So if you notice, the fork is, it's pretty wide.
Yeah, that's good size, man.
Yeah.
That's a
Definitely
standard
want to
dinner.
share a bag with you. No.
Oh God.
Jesus, fuck, right?
No, it's in it.
Now, if you watch real close, I don't know if you can get a close-up. If you watch real close, you'll actually watch the electrical, the stuff. It'll jump up and actually grab the fork.
arc.
You ready?
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit.
All right, here we go. It's a big one.
Whoa.
Gotta clean it off. though. That's it.
God.
Holy shit. That's how you wake up in the morning. My nipples
You
are
all
hard,
right
though.
back there?
You know the money I would save on Afrin?
Wow. Oh, okay. Let's all take a second.
Let's process that.
Yeah, that's many layers of just no.
Yeah. So a lot of people are like, well, how do you how do you train for that? And because, like, I mean, you're obviously used to training and going through pain and discomfort. It's very similar, but with this, you have to readjust the inside of your body. So to get this size fork doesn't happen immediately.
Okay.
Over time,
Start off with one of those little cocktail weenie forks.
So you literally move your septum
you start
over?
off with something really small and soft, like this. Like the first thing I ever put in my nose was a Q-tip, was to test, to feel how the inside of your nose feels.
Yeah.
Because there's all kinds of stuff in there, believe it or not, that you don't realize is there until you go to shove a hard object in past it, and then you hit it, and it hurts a lot. And over time, you can actually stretch and push stuff around in there so you can create a larger cavity, and then you can just start putting back.
Because I see you reacting to the taser, too. Like you're trying to, can I do this for one more second?
Yeah. You got to be, I mean,
right?
you got to be, I mean, there is science behind what I'm doing, obviously, but it's also there's pain tolerance, there's science behind it, there's learning about what the body can do and is capable of.
To draw another fighter analogy, like Frank fights southpaw, do you find you have one nostril that you favor?
It's always my right side.
Okay, why? Just for any reason?
It's the one that works. That's worked the best. My other one
probably move stuff over to
this is over so far. I've tried to put stuff into this side and it just doesn't like the drill and stuff, which is like about 3/8, I think.
Yeah.
I tried to put that in there and it's just it just clamps right on it. So I was like, okay, one side's good enough.
Do you ever have a hard time when you ever? A lot of us have sinuses, right? You get plugged up. Does that nostril ever get plugged up? Or
it does. It does. Like in the morning, I have to before every show, and even before today, before I came on, I had to clean out.
Okay. You use like a neti pot?
No. Usually what I do when I'm doing the drill thing is I just take the drill and put it in, go and turn it on, and the drill
like
will
a
actually
pilot
pull
hole.
everything right out. It does exactly what it's meant to do. It just pulls all the snot and crap.
This is neti pot on steroids.
It's way better. It's way faster.
I'm like flushing out with warm saline water. I'm like, he's like, nah, you put the fucking drill, it yanks it all out.
I wonder.
I put the drill in and I just move it around, and then all of a sudden you'll start to see it goes, and then all the stuff just comes right out.
I wonder
of your
if
face.
you could do that as a fighter next time your nose gets busted. Like, don't
I can
blow
show
your
you how
nose.
to do it.
Don't worry about it. John will come in with a drill.
I hate
and
not
just
being able to
drill
breathe.
it
In fact,
out.
I don't have many habits anymore at my age that my wife hates. The one she hates is that I'm addicted to nasal spray. I hate not being able to breathe through my nose. So after a fight, like when my shit's fucked up, like I'll sit there, like I'll be in the room with my pinky shoved. Like this last fight, my nose got moved over a little bit. My septum moved to the left. So I've been sticking my pinky up my nose to try to move it back over. And I constantly, about once every 2 weeks, I go through a bottle of Afrin. I'm just constantly, I hate not being able to breathe.
Yeah.
So...
Well, if you want to learn to put forks in there, you can actually get in there and move it really over. It's a lot easier. I mean, it sucks at first for a while, but...
definitely, I have some chopsticks at home. I know what I'm doing when I get home.
Yeah. Boy, John, this is not the way to get on Mrs. Mears' acceptable friends list. This is
like, here, I'm going to teach you how to shove forks in your face.
Yeah.
I'll be like, but look, no chemicals. That's what makes her mad.
Yeah.
My wife.
This is gluten-free.
See, there you go.
Everything.
She's all into all natural. I'm like, it's all natural. It's an object.
I also noticed you have a condom there. Is that for after the podcast?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm sterile. I don't care about this
okay.
stuff. But no.
Is there any interesting story behind that?
No, that's just nature taking its course.
It didn't used to be until one rough
So
summer
one time.
with
Yeah, right.
Sideshow.
That was a fun
Taking
discovery.
kicks to the bowl.
Yeah.
That was a fun discovery. Actually, we had the way it happened. What we found out, my sister can have children as well. That's how I found out I couldn't have.
Wait
them.
a second.
Yeah,
It's on a genetic
Wait,
level.
what?
It's not. It was because when we were kids, where our house was, our drinking water got contaminated by an IBM building, had illegally dumped some chemicals, and it actually screwed up our systems, and it made, and then nothing comes out. All my swimmers are drowned. They went,
Has the IBM legal department been notified about
this was like I'm talking like 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
Like
And there's Trump rolling back more of our
You know what they
EPAs,
did?
right?
You know what they did for my
Yeah.
family? They bought us a water
corporations govern
filter
themselves.
filtration system, and that was about it.
It's a little after the fact.
But
isn't
I mean,
it?
they didn't know that was gonna happen to us. This is so long ago. You know?
Yeah, you didn't have what was her name that Julia Roberts played, right?
Motherfucker.
What it?
Yes,
Erin
Brockovich.
Brockovich. Thank you. How does the youngest person in the entire place do? We should all
Julia
be
Roberts
ashamed
fan.
of ourselves.
See, there you go.
Really?
Well done. All right. So now, but anyway, you brought a condom, and hopefully you're not.
So a lot of people are like, oh, what
What
is
are
your
those?
people always like, what does your mother think? Blah blah blah. What does your mother have to say? My mom is actually a big supporter of, and always was very encouraging of mostly the magic stuff, because they were like terrified of these kinds of things, because it's no trick. You're just physically learning how to manipulate your body and push through pain and discomfort to do these things. So, a lot of times I'll test stuff out on her, and if she goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" I know I'm on the right path. That's how I test everything. That's how I use her as a gauge, because she is so numb to the, like. I locked myself in a tank of water with like a dozen piranha, and she was like, "Well, that's nice," and I'm like, "Fuck." 2 dozen next time. Then I did it with like alligators, and like, so I would do like these escapes, that because I worked when I lived in New York, I worked with this radio station, and we would raise money for muscular dystrophy, and so I would put on this big stunt show on a Saturday night. So one time I like hung by my ankles in a straitjacket over a bed of flaming spikes, and then one year I was in a tank of water with a dozen piranha, and I had to escape from the tank without drowning or being eaten, blah blah, and then I was burned alive, all that kind of stuff, just stuff to get people there to raise money. And I did it all for free.
We know what to do for John's second appearance on the podcast. We'll,
so I like to work with charities, like, so especially like autism is a big one, and muscular dystrophy is a big one for me. So my mom is my gauge for a lot of stuff. I'll be like, hey, so I'm thinking about working on this new thing, and I'll explain it to her, and she's like, I don't know. So then I'll make a video of it, and then she goes, what the fuck? I'm like, okay, I'm on the right track. Because if I can make her go, if she just says, I don't know, it's okay, then I know it's not good enough.
What are you doing over there, Frank? You
I'm just
lubing up?
I'm just pulling out the back. Well, he has a condom, made me think of lube.
Yeah,
sure, of course. No, but what are you doing over there?
So
that's my CBD cream.
Oh, CBD cream.
My
Okay,
prop
gotcha.
actually is a lot of my real shit anyway. So.
Oh, okay. You might offer to share some of this with John after he mangles himself.
So these are non-lubricated.
Yeah.
And so in the Sideshow, we have a special way of lubing up condoms. So I'm going to show that to you.
Okay.
Now. So obviously it's a standard condom.
Okay,
You have to
I see
unroll
that.
it all the way down to like where the serial number is. You've seen that at the end?
Yeah. Oh,
Never
I'm
unroll
familiar.
it that far? Okay.
Yeah.
So you put the condom on.
Now you put just to describe, in case anybody's not watching on YouTube, what is that, like a paint stick?
Yeah, it's like a
paintbrush?
little paint stick. Yeah. So this is going to go in the nose.
Oh god. Oh, now he's doing it. What he did with the fork. Okay. Oh my god, he's shoving it all the way up his nose. Right. No. Now that you left the condom. Oh my god. No, he's storing it. No. Whoa.
And that's how you lube it up.
He just.
Now we're ready to go.
Let me explain. He just
Gag
basically.
reflex is going
I
off
know.
the chart right now. I'm like trying not to like dry heave.
How would you explain? It's like he flossed his face.
It's mental floss.
Yes. He had one end of the condom coming out of his nose, the other end came out the mouth. And you put it in your nose, so you worked it down through the nose,
sucked
out
it
the
top
mouth.
of
and then
throat?
and then because everything, your body's all
Yeah,
connected.
but I mean, a loogie, I can understand the concept.
It's
but
the same thing. When your nose is running, you go, and it runs into your throat. It's the same thing, except you reach into the back, and then you can pull it out. You have to control your gag reflex. So
How does
obviously.
this,
barely brush my
Porno
tongue.
Mikey, how does this compare with some of your worst porno PTSD
Speaking of
memories?
gag reflexes,
Well,
or lack
I
thereof.
cringed way harder at that. Well, first we didn't shoot with condoms, so that was a new experience.
Oh, yeah,
for me.
yeah, of course.
But yeah, that I gagged pretty hard at that. That was pretty crazy.
That was-
You're welcome.
You know, it's too bad. I mean, I had John come in on a Tuesday, but this would have been great entertainment for your co-ed baby shower on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
We should have had him come over for that.
I'm big with the bar and bat mitzvah crowds.
Yeah, Mikey's expectant father. So
Nice.
That is co-ed. But a quick mention of that, though. How'd everything go?
Everything went great. Jennifer represented the phone
Yes,
booth
I
fighting
sent my
contingent.
Jennifer
Oh,
as
so you didn't
our
make it?
representative. I was working. Yeah. I was spending my Saturday with this guy.
Yeah.
I
So
don't have a good
yeah. So
I got rednecked.
what does that mean?
Well, I was in Oklahoma, right,
Yeah.
for the show, and then some people there brought this moonshine with them.
Yeah.
But it was like flavored moonshine. They had this.
Was it in a mason jar or a jug?
Yes, it was.
It's always
So
in a mason
they
jar.
asked me, as I was signing autographs and taking pictures, if I would like to try some. So they brought me over what is a 16-ounce bottle, basically, of
Yeah.
water. And they go, here. And so I took a sip, and it tasted very sweet, and it was good. I was like, wow.
I'm just Frank. Question. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the promoter. These are like random hillbillies that came up to you.
No, there were people that also worked around and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But, so
Okay.
anyway,
Go ahead. I'm
people are
sorry.
familiar with. So
Okay, all right.
I wasn't taking candy from a stranger
Making
per
sure.
se.
Making sure.
It's the best
Okay.
candy.
So you were saying.
So I took a
yeah.
sip, and I was actually, wow, this must be watered down because it's. Later, I come to find out, no, it's just that the stuff that they concoct it with, it was still like 80 proof or whatever it is. And so I drank a whole bottle of it. And put it this way, towards the end of the night, I actually bought a pack of cigarettes, and I don't smoke.
What in the world?
Yeah, I have no idea. There's a picture of it that my wife was like, "Do you want to see what you're doing?" I'm like, "Sure."
no.
So I'll have to share you the picture. And I actually was smoking a cigarette. I don't know why. I'd never done that before or after. So needless to say, the hangover was not the greatest the next day, and I had to fly back home. And it was still
Yeah.
a 2-hour drive to the airport, jump on the plane. So I thought, and I really told Mikey the truth. I was just
Yeah.
being honest with him. Hey, dude, late show, early morning.
Yeah.
Like, just let me get a nap in and get a meal and. I'll be okay. And I woke up at like 11 o'clock at night. I'm just like, where am I?
No, all
She's
right.
a good old boy.
Well, I heard back from my Jennifer that we say my Jennifer, both our his wife, my girlfriends are both named Jennifer,
Oh,
so we have to
okay.
say my Jennifer, his
Gotcha.
Jennifer. I heard back from my Jennifer that it was a big success.
Yeah,
everybody
and she
enjoyed
cleaned
themselves.
up. She won a couple of the games.
I heard that. I heard
Yeah.
she was winning big on the
Yeah,
game
she
circuit
did.
there
Yeah.
at the baby shower. So okay, excellent.
That
All
was
right,
a brave
well,
man of you to send your significant other as a female
Oh yeah.
to a baby shower.
Oh yeah. You know,
You see where I'm going with this, right?
yeah, I do okay with that though. Jennifer's not super. She's not like we gotta run and have kids.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mine too.
She talking to yours behind my back.
I don't know.
That's
I would-
what-
I would
Frank looks
definitely
like
get-
he knows something I don't.
No, I just just.
Yeah.
She wouldn't be the first woman I've been around that, in their early 30s are still like, well, I'm okay with it. I'm all, well, let's wait when you hit 35, 36 and stuff.
You know, the other funny thing, too, is this is another little thing about the inner workings of our relationship. So my Jennifer is a hairstylist, and she is his Jennifer's hairstylist.
Yes.
Ah.
That's where I find out so much information. When she comes back after an appointment of doing Mrs. Mir's hair, there's such a debriefing. I mean, I find out things I had no idea about. It's a great place.
My phone etiquette sucks. I don't call my friends or text hardly ever.
Yeah.
And even when it pertains to shit that's important,
That's
like,
important.
he'll call me up. So you're fighting. I'm like, oh, yeah, they called me up. I signed the fight. I mean, besides just being friends, we do a show together. You don't think you wanted to mention that? I'm
Better
like,
talk
fuck,
about
I'm
that.
sorry.
Yeah, that's how we find out stuff. Anyway, well, that's excellent. Now, while we're on the subject, though, we need to say a very happy anniversary to Mr. and Mrs. Mir. Today is your anniversary. Don't act like you're just remembering this.
No,
Frank.
I
Just be
didn't.
like, oh, no,
trust
totally.
me.
Of course, I knew.
Well, actually,
yeah, of course.
between my wife and I'm the one that remembers every year. Even
yeah.
right now, because we just got back from Oklahoma. She went with me. So then, and now we're leaving to go to Medellin, Colombia to do the stem cells. We leave Saturday night. And so I didn't know. Does she really want to still go do something? Like, we're not going to see the kids for a week.
Now, wait before you flip through these, Mikey. Just hold on that one for one
Oh,
second.
and
Go ahead,
so
Frank. What were you
I was
saying?
like, so hey,
Yeah.
our anniversary's coming on the 10th. She's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah. She goes, when is it? I'm like, Tuesday. Oh yeah. Like, it's funny in our relationship. I'm the one that remembers.
That is funny because I think like a couple of years ago that revelation actually occurred during a podcast. I think we were at your house. It's before we had the studio. We were taping, and there was this moment of, did you realize it's our? Oh, it is our anniversary. Yeah. Now this is I had Mikey pull up your Instagram here because there's a collage of photos. So I thought, Frank, maybe you could describe to us the Mirrors through the years. What are we looking at here?
That's actually at our 10-year anniversary. We booked a family trip. My father, some of her family, my children.
Yeah.
We went to
It
Turks
appear-
and Caicos.
Yep,
the
you're on a
beaches resort.
beach. Okay.
Yep, it was awesome. That water. That's actually why I found out I'm very much of a Caribbean human being. The Cuban blood, I guess. But I don't like the beach on the West Coast. I won't even get in the water. Even when I went to Hawaii, the water just isn't the same. The Caribbean, like it's like bath
beautiful,
water,
yeah.
man. You could see because I'm terrified to shit of things in the water. So I like to see, and it's comfortable. Like it's like not. I mean, it's like it's like taking. It's like bath water.
It's like 80 degrees.
Yeah.
All right. So
I worked
that's-
on a cruise ship for 2 years, and we went to the Bahamas every week. We did the island, Eastern Caribbean every week, and every week our day off was in the Bahamas from the show, and literally we'd sit in there. It was like sitting in a bathtub.
Right, it's beautiful,
and it's so clear. But also the scary thing is the shadows of things that are swimming around in there. One fish was hunting another one. It was like they weren't big, but all you saw was this black shadow come flying up out of the water. And we're like, holy shit, that could have been a shark. We would have been dead.
Yeah, right. So that's 10 years ago. Okay, let's see what we got here next here. All right.
I don't know when that was, but we're obviously out riding. Where were we? Because Mrs. Mir's wearing the cap. You can see that my attire. That was obviously a night taking the Harley, the bikes out.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh,
I think we're at a show.
Yeah.
Because I'm wearing a credential and I can see things in the back.
That's funny how you use the context clues to figure out. Yeah. Okay, all right. Oh, all dressed up for this one.
Oh, where
Frank's
was
got
that?
a tie on.
Huh. I don't remember.
Nice
Ask her.
formal night out. Yeah, okay. All right. Oh, there they are on the motorcycle.
Yep, probably the same night. Looks like we're wearing the same shirt.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, okay. You got a name tag on there? What are you doing there?
I don't know. Is that a Disneyland trip in the background?
No, that's just some
That was just
building.
hotels.
Yeah, okay. All right. Oh, back on the beach.
That was Laguna.
Okay.
We went there with some friends, Raymond and Sean.
Yeah, okay. Same. Yep.
Laguna again, just different day.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I tell you what, you two are a good-looking couple. You've held up really well, you know? No, you have.
Yeah, for a guy gets punched in the face. For
I was going to say, right? I was like,
well,
look good up close.
Yeah, but you guys are kind of ageless.
And now I'm starting doing the facial treatments. Mrs. Mir finally convinced me to do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so I'm going to go with her because, she does all those treatments.
all the
and does
beauty masks and all that
Getting
kind of
electrocuted
stuff,
and shit. And,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, so happy anniversary to Mrs. Mir. Now, this is interesting. Only in MMA. It is your 16th anniversary, wedding anniversary. But for the last 8 years, basically half of those years, Mrs. Mir has had to share this anniversary with Minotauro Nogueira because it was 8 years ago tonight, that Frank broke Minotauro Nogueira's arm with the Kimura there. And this was your second broken limb of an opponent, because Tim Sylvia was the first, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and you have described this as one of your greatest victories. Yeah?
Yeah, I was very excited about this fight at the end, and probably not for the reason that most people think.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't happy that his arm was broken. I was happy to get the submission over such a highly touted and respected legend of the world of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But what I was more happy about was that I overcame adversity in that fight. That thing was very much a miniature portrayal or a metaphor for how I like, to be able to something to trade to show my children.
While we're talking, Mikey, off screen, see if you can find the finishing sequence clip of that.
Okay.
That might be floating around somewhere. Yeah, sorry.
So in this fight, our first fight, I very much dominated him with boxing and was able to knock him down. So in the second fight, I don't know, maybe a little bit of overconfidence on my part. I was a little too cute about it. And I got caught with a great punch right on the ear that knocked out my whole equilibrium. My legs caved out from under me, and I grabbed onto his legs trying to keep from falling down, and eventually fell right into a referee's position. I had one arm draped over his leg, and he was trying to finish me, and eventually dropped down on a guillotine and sat. And at the time, I always tell people it was funny because when we were drilling just the week before, the week of the fight, I didn't think maybe his triangular arm bar was much of a threat to me, especially because I trained with Drysdale. And so his triangle and arm bar off his back, is real lethal. And so, but we were like, respect his guillotine because, he had just finished Tim Sylvia for it to win his version of the, when he won the title from Tim. Very strong guillotine precision and strength-wise. That's still one of his, A-plus moves. So I remember just sitting there at one point in the fight. Here I got rocked. And now I'm getting choked by the number one move he said not to get in. And we're like a minute into this shit. So I just, instead of sitting there and panicking about where I was, I just kind of, okay, I'm here, and then just was able to just, what I think most people should do in life. When adversity hits, instead of sitting there going, man, this sucks, you're wasting time worrying about whether it sucks or not, or wondering about how I got here. Is it going to help you right now? No. We can worry about how you got here later on so that we can try to prevent from getting here again. But right now you're here, and so like, what's the next part of the solution. So then I was like, oh, he's off balance to his left. So I you see me put my hand out and knock him down and sweep him. And then as I sweep him, he goes to take my back. His hips are too low. I stepped over, and then I was able to lock up the Kimura. And so it was just about problem solving. And in the end, I came through victorious, but that's why I love this fight so much. It's probably my favorite fight of mine, because I can use it as an example to my children. Like here, I was doing very badly at the beginning.
Yeah.
And this is why and how I was able to turn it around, not by sulking and not by, oh my God, why did I end up here? Why me? It's like, it is what it is. It happened. In another time I can work on how to prevent it, but let's not waste seconds worrying about that now. Just, life's a math problem. Okay, well, what's the next solution? Well, go here. Okay, now what's the next thing we need to do? Now go here. What's the next thing we need to do? We need to go here. And just keep on working and marching forward.
Is there a moment right here where, I don't know if there's time for this thought to occur in a fight, that's why I'm asking. Is there a moment where you realize, is there a split second to realize, okay, I have brought the arm this far back. He is not going to tap. This is about to break. Like, it's clear he is not planning to tap, and I'm going to snap this thing.
Yeah, it's weird, and this might make me seem like a psycho. But even when I train with people, I know how to lock up a move, and I just go slow. I extend my hips slowly because my intentions are to keep driving it until it breaks, and obviously you'll tap before it breaks.
Yeah.
That's really how I train. I'm assuming under my training method that you're going to protect your own body. And as long as I give you time to protect yourself, I don't have to sit there and wonder if it hurts or not. So I'm just going to lock it up, keep applying it. I think that's hard dunk.
Yeah, that's
all right. That's funny. Very.
bone break. Oh, well, this is a montage. This is your medley.
So this is number one. The Nogueira is according to this guy.
Oh, no, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There it goes.
Oh, it looks different there.
Could you feel it when it went? Yeah.
Gross.
Oh, yeah, because breaking a limb is very much like breaking a stick, like a twig.
Yeah.
As you're applying pressure, the human body, the bone will bend. It bows. So as it bends, and then all of a sudden there's just a clean giveaway as it snaps.
And did you release pressure like right after?
Yeah,
that?
immediately. And that's why you see me looking up at Herb. I've never really been one for trying to inflict damage for the sake of inflicting damage.
Yeah.
To me, it's just part of
The job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so right here, you see as I'm applying pressure. As soon as it pops, I look up and then I stop applying. Then you even see how I gently let it go. Like I didn't just throw it down. Like I let it go. I unweave my arm. I'm acknowledging that there's an injury and I don't need to
Make it worse.
that's not going to make me any happier. It's not something I'm going to hang up and show my children.
Yeah.
Hey, after I broke this guy's arm, do you see how I treated him? Like, if anything, that would embarrass me.
Yeah,
and be
right,
like, well,
right.
here you're in a position where you have somebody hurt.
And, by the way, here's where he's got his guillotine on, right?
Yep. So I locked up. You see here, I felt him off balance and I was able to sweep him. There's when he did a sit out and I was able to jump over high hips and I locked up the Kimura. And as soon as I locked it up, I knew I just had to get my leg over his head.
Yeah. Now, is there like I mean, this would be a question for him, but I'm just assuming like anatomy in general. Is there like endorphins or something that kick in to kind of help? Or do you kind of go in shock? Because I see him look at his arm like, well, no, that's broken.
Yeah, that's one of the protective measures of the human body is that, and also sometimes it can go too much. Your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, that's why I tell people there's certain ways of fighting it. Like, if right now you grabbed my finger and started twisting it, I'm going to grimace and I'm going to ask you to stop and you're going to get a reaction out of me. Once my nervous system kicks in and I'm in fight, flight, or freeze mode, the body doesn't regulate pain the same way because it's your body pretty much thinks life over limb. That's how our bodies are wired. And so you'll destroy something, but if your body wants to survive, me addressing that pain right then and there is probably not beneficial towards the survival of my entity. So guys have broken ankles and broken wrists, broken arms in fights, or, I'm sure people have noticed that in a car wreck. I mean, almost everybody understands that concept. you get into a bad accident and they'll tell you, even if you feel fine right now, go to the hospital, because you very well could have injuries that your body is not identifying right now. Because, if you were in the wild and you were being chased by a bear and you broke your ankle, sitting there going, my ankle, well, now you're going to get eaten. Instead, you're going to run on it, however far you have to get away from this animal. And then, an hour later, days later, the next day, usually I always tell people the worst thing for an injury is a good night's sleep. That's usually when you're going to find out how you feel the next day. Get a good night's sleep and we'll see how you feel in the morning. When people are like, I don't think it's that bad. I'm like, sure, buddy. Get a good night's sleep and we'll see you in the morning. And then everybody, I get the call, I'm not going to train. I'm like, I knew.
Yeah. Well, that was so I guess, you guys obviously that was a memorable anniversary that night. Yeah. Did you get, where was that fight?
That was in Toronto, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in Canada, which is funny because obviously it's my wife's anniversary, or our anniversary.
Yeah.
I'm a typical man. It's the wife's anniversary, right? Anniversary of a very, historic fight in my life.
Yeah.
Nogueira being who he was throughout the early 2000s, the legend.
Never been submitted.
Never been submitted up to that point. We remember Canada more because... So we're going to the press conference. So we go downstairs, and I forgot what version of UFC Unleashed got released, but the UFC had set up a bunch of Xboxes in one of the rooms.
Like a green room?
Yeah, what's it called where you have an assembly or you have a...
Like a press room.
Yeah, basically.
Media
like a press room. Media room.
Okay.
And so that way fans and media and different people can come down and play the game. And so, Cage at the time, I think was he 4? Was he...
Well, it would have been 8 years ago.
Yeah, okay. So, he would have been 6. And so Cage is 6 years old. And it's Cage, my daughter, and then my youngest son's a baby, Ronan, but so he's being taken care of. And so we're all there, the whole family. We thought Marcus, hey, you have the kids, and he's walking with my wife's aunt and uncle. I call him Uncle Eddie and them, and my father, and they're all there. Okay, now we're going to go to the press conference. They're only going to drive one of us. It's me plus one. So my wife, Jen, jumps in with me. And so they put us in the van. They drive us over. Everybody else, because where the media was being held at was like a bridge you could walk over, and it was within a 5 to 10 minute walk of the hotel that they have us at where these video games are at. So everybody's downstairs. Cage is playing the video game, and we're all sitting there. They go, okay, Mir, we need you. Cool. Jen comes with me. We give her the wristband. We're leaving. All right, everybody, we'll see you there. They're going to go down as the audience. So about 5 minutes later, about 10 minutes later, we're in the bus being driven around. It was actually faster to probably walk there than take this bus, but they wanted us to go through a certain entrance in the back. And so Jen gets a phone call and she goes, what? No. And so it was actually Malky being funny because he goes, hey.
Frank's agent.
Yeah. And he goes, hey, do you know where your kid is right now? I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, I got your kid. I'm like, what? Who? I was like, I got Cage right here. He goes, I came downstairs because he was running a little bit behind everybody. And he looks down, and there's Cage by himself just sitting there. So he runs up and he goes, Cage, where's everybody? He's like, I don't know. And he goes, your son's just like you. He's not panicking at all.
Yeah.
He's just sitting there. And they had turned off the games because now it's time to go down to the thing. So there's no one down there. So there's my son just sitting there just waiting for somebody. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess, I got left. And so so then we call up, my oldest son, Marcus, like, hey, do you know you guys left Cage? Where's Cage? They all say, I thought you had him. It was one of these like, well, I thought you were, I thought you, but no, you said. And so that was the joke, is that like basically we lost Cage in Toronto for a good 5 minutes.
Had his own Home Alone experience. Well, I don't know. Fast forward to Saturday night, Frank. I don't know if you got a chance to see the fight between your actual former opponent, Alistair Overeem, and Mr. Rosenstruck. Did you see?
No,
what
I didn't.
happened?
I got the catch replays though.
Well,
I saw the punch.
It can be summed up in a photo. This is the gross out episode. Is what we're doing here. There's Alistair Overeem with the most horrific one-punch injury I've ever seen in my life. Oh God,
wow.
Mikey zoomed in on it.
That's a lot.
He was winning this fight. Judges had him up on all 4 rounds. I mean, it was a good fight, but Overeem was definitely winning it. And with, I believe it was 5 seconds left to go, he got hit with this shot and got knocked out. Have you ever seen
I've never seen a lip explode
an
like
injury like that?
Not
from
with a
punch?
mouthpiece.
No.
That really surprises me. That's If he had no mouth guard,
Yeah.
that could make sense to my brain. Like, oh, you shove someone's lips hard enough against their teeth,
Yeah, they're gonna
things
cut
rip
through
open,
it.
right?
Yeah.
But with a mouth guard, the explosion like that blows my mind. Like, I'm just like, my brain just can't really even do the math to sit there and figure out how that would have happened.
That is so bizarre looking.
Wow.
And
Somebody shot him in the face.
Yeah, it does. No, that's what it looks
gonna
like.
make
It
an
looks like a
interesting scar.
gunshot,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Because how do you sew that up right?
It looks like a star.
Yeah, that's going to be a nasty.
Yeah. Well, it was a big night for. I got to learn how to say Mr. Rosenstruck's first name. Let me pull that up. That's going to make me have to commit this to memory. He was a 15 ranked heavyweight, so I probably should have already learned that by now. But he's from. Had you ever heard of this country that he's from? Did you know about this country that he's from? All right, hang on. I'm going to tell you where this country is. It'll sound like I'm making this up. Hang on. Okay, hang on. All right. It is. Hang on, let me click on his profile. All right. Jairzinho Rosenstruck. Okay? He is from where's his biography? Hang on. What the hell is it? Hang on. Here we go. Suriname. Do you know Suriname?
I was just there.
No.
Obviously.
No. He's
I
from.
couldn't even, if you began to ask me what continent it was near, I wouldn't even.
He is, not surprisingly, the first ever Suriname UFC fighter.
Where
How do you spell that?
Suriname. It is a Dutch colony.
Really?
It is on the northeastern Atlantic coast of South America.
Huh.
It's bordered by the Atlantic Ocean, and to the north, Atlantic Ocean is to the north, French Guiana is to the east, Brazil is to the south. Yeah. And like I said, Dutch colony, they speak Dutch there. So, big win for him. All right, how about this one, Frank? We were talking about Anthony Joshua and Ruiz last week. Now, I told you that Anthony Joshua weighed in at, what did I tell you it was, 283 and a half or some crazy like
286
that?
or something like that?
Well, yeah. Well, we were wondering whether or not that was just muscle, if he'd put on that much muscle. Last fight, the first fight, he weighed in at 268. For this one, he weighed in at 283.5, yeah.
15 and a half pounds?
Yeah, but he now
lot.
himself has reacted to what happened. I think Mikey's got the story there. I like the headline of this. I think I ate everything, and that's why I gained so much weight. Do we have audio? If he partied too hard and ate everything, let's hear him in his own words.
What's good, Andy, man?
Hey, I just didn't want to be waiting outside.
Dude, that's fine, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, commiserations on the fight, man. I was rooting for you,
Appreciate
bro.
that, man. I know, had a rough time, but no excuses. He won me this fight. I won the first one, he won the second one, and so.
What about a third?
I'm ready for the third one.
Oh, you want a trilogy?
Of course, bro. That's what we're working on.
Have you already been in talks? Have you talked about it yet?
No, because we just got done with this fight, So
Yeah.
I don't know if if he has a mandatory or whatnot. But
Right.
I'm gonna take some time off. I'm gonna relax with the family.
Good idea, man.
Yeah,
Hey, now that the dust has settled, do you wish you trained a bit harder?
Of course I do. I think, it could have happened to anybody. I think I was having too much fun. I was celebrating too much.
Like,
and,
what were you doing in that period that, you wish you hadn't now?
Just being with my friends and just celebrating, drinking a few Coronas than I should have. But
What was your favorite meal while you were training? What'd you eat?
I think I ate everything.
Really?
Everything. That's why I gained so much weight. But
Do you think if the trilogy happens, you think, you'll eat better and you'll train
of course,
harder?
from this fight that I had, even out of shape, even the way that I was training back and forth, I did pretty good, dude. I did pretty good.
Yeah.
But I wish I would have took it more serious. But for sure, on the third fight, I'm gonna give it all I got.
You think
I want those belts back.
Do you think if you had trained a bit harder, you think you would have beaten him?
I think so. You know, I think he was just running too much. I think for me being too big, I was too slow to try to catch to him. You know.
Right.
But you know, things didn't happen. But I'm just gonna train harder, baby.
Okay, we want a third fight though, man. We want the trilogy.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
We're gonna work on that.
Hey, can I have a look at that scar that you got in your eye? Oh man.
It's not that bad.
It's cool, man. Hey, you're a legend, bro. I appreciate you, man, and you win the third.
I appreciate
Hey,
that,
thank you,
bro.
Andy, bro. Appreciate it, man.
Well, he's got a good attitude.
Yeah.
How tall is that guy?
He's not that
No.
tall.
6'1"?
Yeah.
Oh, and he's wow. That's
He was
big, is a big dude. Then
Yeah.
for 6'1", yeah.
Yeah. He's definitely got some weight. You think they'll make that third fight, Frank?
I think so. I mean, the other two challengers, like what is it?
Wikipedia says he. No, that's not right. Hold on.
There's the two guys now. They're the mandatory challengers, or the mandatory challenger for Joshua. You know what I mean? Like, I think people realize, hopefully in boxing, I think they're starting to understand, but we'll see. Mm-hmm. To me, boxing's never going to get back on its feet until it realizes why MMA kicked their ass. Is because MMA, we don't have to worry about, hey, this guy named Daniel Cormier is really good at 205, and this other guy named John Jones is really good at 205, but they never fight each other. If it was boxing, those two never would have faced each other, because the top 3 or 4 guys in each weight class end up being in different promotions, and they never fucking fade each other. Right. And so you have all these multiple belts out there, and no one's like, well, who's the middleweight champ? Who's the you don't fucking know. So having a unified belt, you know. So right now, the fight to make is that, honestly, Anthony Joshua needs to fight the winner of Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, which happened in February. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. If this was MMA, they absolutely would be facing each other. Yeah. But boxing now, because of negotiations and money, and they try to, you know. But I hope that they realize that whatever money you think you're losing by not having these guys face each other isn't overridden by the fact of how much money you can make by making these matchups. Because, I mean, really, in the heavyweight division, whoever wins between Tyson and Deontay is going to be a bigger draw than anybody else you could face with Anthony Joshua. I mean, a trilogy with Andy Ruiz, the rematch was a big deal because of how explosive the first fight was. But now the fact that if the second fight, even with it being a reverse of outcomes, had Anthony Joshua went out there and floored Andy Ruiz, I think they could have made a stronger argument for a third fight. Both guys back and forth, getting dropped, and then now Anthony Joshua's the champ again. But the way that Anthony won this fight, he's going to follow that same pattern on the next one. I'm going to keep him on the end of my jab, move around, and if he gets too close to me, I don't want to get hit with that left hook again, I'm going to hug him. Yeah. It's not the most exciting fight to watch for fans. No. You know what I mean? It's boring. You know, when people sit there, oh, the art of boxing is to hit without being hit. It's like, yeah, but guess what?
It's not a lot of fun to watch.
No, if you want to make millions of dollars, no one gives a shit. That's why, like, right now, one goes, oh, a three-peat. It's nothing against Andy getting an opportunity again to fight for the title. It's just that, and they're both to blame for this. One, for Ruiz being too fat to make up and find out a counter to force Joshua in a fight. But the first fight they had, both guys got rocked and dropped multiple times, or, you know, Andy got dropped once, and that was, people were like, oh, I want to see that again. The fight that just happened, no one wants to see that shit again. I mean, it wasn't bad to where you didn't want to watch it the first time. But honestly, 12 rounds of watching Anthony Joshua run around and jab the shit out of a guy who just chases him down and can't close distance. I'll watch it for a couple rounds. I don't want to see that shit again. You know what I mean? I don't want to watch another 12 rounds of that. And it looks like that's what would happen in the third one. So I don't think that. I think that they need to make the fight with Wilder and Fury's victor is going to face Anthony Joshua. Yeah. Has to be. I mean, but here's the thing with boxing. The reason why they're never going to beat MMA anytime soon, the reason why 2 of our guys who are not even champions sat Canelo on his ass, and he had to sit there and wait for us to get done fighting before he was allowed to fight, because they knew that the viewership was on our part. And not only on top of that, I mean, talk about insult to injury. You're at the MGM Grand. You paid money to watch a boxing match. Not only are they pushing this boxing match back, but then they're like, hey, would you guys also like to see the fight that you're actually, the
Yeah.
reason why we're waiting? You'd probably rather see that, right? And they actually show our fight, the MMA fight and the UFC fight. That, that was just, it just shows where it's at. But they did it to themselves.
True.
If they want to change course next year, we'll see, the main guys fighting each other. If they want to keep it as a status quo, then you know what, even Canelo now, he's the new king of the boxing world. He's not a bigger draw than just a main card on UFC.
Lastly, Frank, we have to talk about a news story that I know hit close to your heart here because, well, for one, you texted me the story, but I had already seen this. I'm going to let you set this up, Frank. I mean, the headline is basically big changes to USADA's UFC anti-doping policy, but everybody knows that this basically cost you 2 years of your career. So what is your understanding of what is changing about the policy?
I think that basically the USADA's testing policies in their labs were catching a lot of guys that were just taking either supplements that were tainted or being exposed to things because, they were basically, in their own words, finding, a needle in a haystack. So guys were failing tests and being put on the sideline for metabolites or trace elements of a drug that necessarily wasn't enhancing performance, and it probably wasn't taken intentionally if you have that small of amounts in your body.
Yeah.
So here you have guys being sidelined for years, being financially, repercussions, and then in the end finding out that they weren't a cheater, you just were a collateral damage. And so I'm very happy that now the USADA has figured out what I figured out 2 years ago. It saddens me in one way that I have no college degree and I had more common sense than they did. But I guess common sense and college degrees not necessarily in the same. Now that they find out that certain drugs, like for example the metabolite they found in my system at the levels it was found at, I never would have been suspended. They would have been probably pulled me to the side, some extra testing to make sure that obviously being exposed to something that could potentially be harmful to my system, but I wouldn't have lost 2 years of my career. Jones, same thing. He wouldn't have lost, the 15 months that he lost of his career. And certain athletes out there, that they're finding out that, like Tom Lawler wouldn't have lost, time out of his career and left the promotion. So, it's bittersweet in one sense where you sit there and go, man, this thing I got screwed over on, they fixed it.
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't have been, if this would have happened tomorrow, or this would have happened tomorrow, I wouldn't have had the same repercussions that occurred, back in 2016. I'm happy now that no other young athletes have to go through what I went through, being branded a cheater and all these, and losing money and not be able to provide for your family. These are, I don't wish that on anybody, especially when you really didn't do anything, which is what USADA is saying now. At these levels and these amounts for these certain drugs, no longer are you guilty, and they realize you're not necessarily a cheater. There's just that their testing parameters are so detailed or so exact that they can find things in your system that that you could have had in your system for years or whatnot, pulsing or just different explanations, laboratories that they come up with. It actually brings me hope because I honestly felt that I would never have gone back to the UFC because just like how John Jones had this pulsing phenomenon with the same metabolite I had in my system. I didn't want to deal with it. I couldn't, and that's actually why I left the UFC the first time I asked for my release, is because it wasn't a case of I don't want to stop taking what you guys have caught me on. It was I never took it in the first place. I don't know how to explain it's here. So you guys don't seem to care to help me out. You're not in your own words. You're not in the business of helping me. You're in the business of testing athletes. And so I would have been suspended the next time for 4 years, and then, not fight for 4 years at that time, and I'm in my mid 40s, and so that's why I had to have my release. So this knowing that is that, now I know that when, my contract's up with Bellator, now the option of possibly going back is back on the table, which makes Mrs. Mir happy. She's always wanted me to finish my career in the UFC, but up until this moment, I never would have been able to go back. And now knowing that, okay, whatever you guys realize, the error of your mistakes, that we can, possibly have a redemption.
It's one of those things of just the sheer bad luck of being active at a certain point in time
Yeah.
where it's kind of like, I mean,
Well,
almost like how people think. Like, this is a weird analogy, but like think about how people think about the Vietnam War now. No one thinks that was a good idea, but at one time there was a debate about it.
Oh.
You know, at one time there was like, you know, and
It was
it's
a police action, sir.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you have the misfortune of being. If this had happened to you, what? How many? 3-4 years later?
Yeah.
3 years later, however long it's been.
I would have been nothing more
That's
than
not
like, hey,
much-
by the way.
That's not much time. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to bum you out. I'm just saying that.
I'm like, I've been trying to get over this,
Yeah.
dude.
no, but I'm just saying.
I've
You're
had
a
24 hours to sit on this before we talked
You're
about
a real
it.
shitty therapist.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
This is the way I look at it.
Yeah.
It would be like, I mean, throughout all of time, we're constantly trying to come up with better laws and regulation. Could you imagine if all of a sudden it was like, well, if when women's suffrage came along and a woman going, well, that's screwed up. I didn't get to vote. Now my daughter gets to vote. How unfair. It's like,
right.
you're right. It
Yeah.
sucked for you, but
Yeah.
you don't want the next generation to have it better. So in one sense, like I saw someone make an argument for that, about college tuitions. If Bernie Sanders, fixing the college tuition.
Yeah. Why didn't I get free state?
That's why I paid my
Yeah,
shit off. Well,
yeah.
guess what? So now, I guess now when I
Yeah.
give my opinion on that, I'm in the same boat. No one's going to go back and pay me for the 2 years that I lost of my career. Now, USADA didn't send me a sorry letter going, hey, by the way, I know we screwed up.
Yeah.
I mean, I can read between the lines and go, okay, you guys know you fucked up.
Yeah.
You
They
real-
didn't send you the "it wasn't you, it was us" card from Hallmark.
So I mean, I can take credit in that, or
Yeah.
take solace in the fact that, like, well, they're fixing it.
Yeah.
But and hopefully other guys, my own daughter now, as her career goes on, is not going to have to deal with some of the situations. Their system's improving.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks that I got caught under the train tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got ran over by it, but hey, I survived. I could keep on fighting. Did things get hard? Yeah, I lost a house over it. You know what I mean? Like, bills were hard to pay
Good
for
news
2
is
years.
you had another one.
Yeah, multiple homes. Just backtrap a little bit. Now look, I'm on the up and up again, and hopefully next year buy another house again. So
Yeah. All right. Well, it's an important development in the UFC's revision of their USADA policy, but obviously that's one that hits close to home for us. So we definitely wanted to talk about that. Anything else, Frank, before we adjourn? While you think about that for a second, let me let John let everybody know where they can follow you online, find out more about you. Do we like to mention those things?
Yeah. You can check out my Instagram at John Shaw Magic. That's the easiest way to find me. I post tons of stuff on there all the time.
Yep.
Usually it's just really dumb stuff. I don't do serious things. I don't do political things. I only post just goofy, weird, funny shit.
And if you'd like for John to gross you out in person,
Yeah,
if you're
you
in
can-
the Las Vegas area,
Yeah, you can come. I perform at the Zach Bagans Haunted Museum downtown 5 days a week. I'm there every day except on Thursdays.
yeah,
And Tuesdays we're closed, so Thursday's my only.
they give him
one
2
day.
days off a week.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's pretty.
not back to back though. That kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah, it's fine though. I don't mind.
Have you
my
ever-
thing is I look at it this way: in the sideshow world, to have a steady gig and you get to go home every night.
Oh yeah,
In the performance world at all, I spent years on tours, and that's all I did. I was flying in and out of town for years and years and years, and it's just after a while, it just beats you up. And I'm like, I literally go to sleep on the tour bus, wake up, I'm in another city. Sometimes we went to sleep in Michigan, woke up in Canada. It's like that kind of thing. And then after a while, now it's like I get to go home and be in my own bed every night, and I walk in, put my costume on, I do my show, and I go home.
yeah. You have a residency.
Yeah.
I mean, you basically, in fact, if you want to leave something at the end of the night sitting in a
Yeah.
it's going to be there when you show up.
it's going to be there when I
next
get
day,
back.
right?
I don't have to
Yeah.
pack up my gear. I mean, it's very nice. It's a very, very sweet gig. I mean, and being able to stay home and spend time with my girlfriend and enjoy all the stuff that I get here in town. This town's a great city. I moved from New York to here specifically because I love this city so much.
How long have you been working at the museum?
I've been at the museum just over a year. It was a year in August.
Okay.
So yeah, Zach and I met in a kind of a weird way. He approached one of the girls at the girls who's one of the guides, Stacia. He approached her and was like, "Hey, do you know any sideshow people who would want to do an act at here?" So funny thing was, a few months before that, I came through the museum just as a guest, and I was like, "Oh, place is cool." Oddly enough, when I went into that room, I'm like, "Fuck, I could totally do like an act in here." But he had some people in there doing stuff, so I was like, "Oh, well, whatever." And she calls me up. She's like, "Hey, do you know anybody who would want to do it?" I'm like, "Yeah, me." And I think I was in like Alabama or something like that on a tour, and I was like, "Yeah, do I get to stay home every night?" Fuck yeah, that's great. And then he turned me down twice because he thought my act was too big for the room. And I'm like, yeah, because he saw my video, and of course on the video there's me blowing fireballs and all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, well, of course I'm going to show you the best stuff on the video. I was like, but I can scale it down and make it fit in any room. I could do it in your bathroom if I wanted to. And he's like, so he called me. I got a phone call, and he's like, hey, can you come down right now? Went down, we met, sat in his office for a few minutes. He showed me the room. He's like, so what do you think? I was like, I can start tomorrow. And I told him what I would do and what I would talk about, kind of the shtick. And he's like, okay, let's do that. Yeah. That's what I love about Zach. When he likes something, he's like, boom, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, no hesitation, just boom, let's go.
Yeah, John's a great character at the museum. If the museum had a sitcom based on it, John would be like one of the most lovable characters. Like, he would probably generate the most merch, you know what I'm saying, when everybody's
I mean, I
like
kind of am designed for
exactly.
merchandising.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. We mentioned, go ahead.
So we got our Shaman CBD.
Yes,
American
let's
Shaman.
talk about that. Frank?
Yeah, American Shaman CBD, still the CBD I use and love. We've talked about emailing the show. If you guys are interested in getting it, still collecting on that. And hopefully by the end of next week, we'll go ahead and go through and make sure all those get out. And same with Metrospec. I love their company. I use their products religiously. You guys probably watched me taking them while the show was on air. They have an assortment of things go on there. And again, if you go on my social media, you can write to us. Or actually on that one, we'll tag. They're going to have you write them directly and get out some supplements and some products to you personally.
Excellent. All right. Well, for our guest John Shaw, for Porno Mikey over there producing, and when's the baby due?
February 29th.
February 29th. Oh yeah, we talked about that because it's a leap year situation.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to be very exciting. For Porno Mikey, all of our guests in studio joining us, and Frank Mir over there, I'm Richard Hunter, and we'll see you right back here next time for another Phone Booth Fighting.